Hi, welcome back to the channel. This week we're taking a look at Abyss. Now obviously this has been out for quite a while, but it's a synth that I've kind of overlooked until now. And now I realise what I was missing all along. It is amazing. So obviously most of you know that I'm a massive Serum and Vital fan. However, using those always feels like a bit of work. It's always very clinical, it's always very precise. And the same is true of any other analog or VA synth really. You start with a waveform, you adjust the filter, you adjust the modulation, etc, etc. The workflow for the most part is the same across all these kinds of synths. Abyss on the other hand throws all of that out the window and personally for me has restored the fun to sound design. I'm not sure about you, but some days I still want to be creative, but my brain as well and truly checked out for the day. So opening something like Serum isn't even an option really. But Abyss, because it's so visual and so different, really means you can play with it and just get happy accidents. That's not to say you can't be clinical and precise with it just like you can with Serum, but it's a lot more experimental. And essentially what I'm saying is it's a lot more fun and it's a lot more inviting. So let's have a listen to what I was working on just before I pressed record. We have these kind of whooshy, ghost-like things. So I'll explain the interface, I'll go through some presets, and then we'll try and basically recreate something similar to this. We're currently on the effects page. Let's go over to the edit page, where basically the heart of the synth is. Let's first return these sliders to their most colorful position, so I can explain them in a little bit more. And then we'll start here right in the middle with this gradient bar. Now Abyss isn't a wavetable synth, but I am going to use the analogy of a wavetable. I think people might understand that a bit better. So with a wavetable synth, you have the wavetable, obviously, and that's made up of several frames, often up to 256. And then you can slide through the wavetable like so, or in this case using the position to play a particular sound or to play a particular wavetable. Which means that this bar is obviously the oscillator, and each of these different dots, of which you can have many, I don't know if there's even a limit, represents a particular timbre. And you select these individual timbres by this palette below. So I'm going to, let's double click and we'll get rid of all of these. So now we're starting with a blank selection. Once again, let's turn these up like so. Let's turn, straighten all the way to the right. As I said, I'll explain those in a minute. And then we can go through and we can audition these sounds. And I believe there are 2,000 odd. And the colors obviously determined a type of sound. So the closer the color, the closer the sound essentially. Now to the right of that, we have some individual parameters for the individual timbre of the sound. So the first three I think are quite self-explanatory: level, pitch and tune. But then below that are really quite interesting. So here we have straighten all the way to the right, and that essentially makes the sound more synthetic. So let's say I want a vocally sound. Let's go through and audition the sounds again. I'm not getting anything like that at all. Because like I said, we are going for more of a synthetic sound. But if we turn this to the far left, instantly we're getting more of the vocally kind of sound. Like there is a good example. And once we've chosen our sound, once we've identified one that you like, you'll see that this light changes to represent that type of color. Then we can drag it up to our bar like so. And now when I play a key, I'm playing that sound. Next we have detail, and detail reduces the high frequencies in a similar way or similar concept to a filter. However, the resultant sound is much, much different. So let's just choose something like that. Good example of a vocal timbre, and then we'll turn this down. Even more. I think it's even added a bit of resonance there. But the point is, the sound is much, much different to what we had originally. Let's put detail back up. Next we have noise. So noise, as you'd expect, obviously adds noise, but it adds a different flavor of noise for each one of these different colors, each one of these different timbres. So let's turn that up. I think round there is a good example of different type of noise that it's adding. Just a really nice way to add a bit of grit. I think around a third really works quite well. Up to you, basically. And then finally we have organic. And organic just adds a little bit of subtle movement just to make it a bit more analog flavor, a bit more lively. So with all these 2000 different timbres, plus these 4 variations, or if you want to include the other ones as well, but mainly these 4 variations, the amount of timbres you can get is essentially infinite. Next, let's flick over to the effects section, and here we have 4 types of effects, and they are quite cryptically named, but I really like that. It adds to the whole experimental and fun flavor of the synth that I mentioned at the start. So from left to right, we have shimmer, and if you forget what they are, you can look down the bottom left and you can see shimmer effect. Next to that, we have a delay effect, followed by reverb, and then a phaser at the end. And then around the edge, we have conventional synth parameters, such as modulation assignments, which are mainly on the left. Then over to the right, we have LFOs and envelopes, and then a ARP down the bottom here. So let's go through just a couple presets, just to give you a flavor of what this is like. And to be honest, these are mainly going to be chosen at random. That's actually one thing that I would like, would be a way to mark the favorites. If there's a preset called Atari, I have to listen to that one. I think this preset, which is just chosen at random, like I said, really highlights what it's aimed at. Just these otherworldly atmospheres. We can add some spread to the position. So now we have 2 voices playing, here we go, on the left and the right of this position bar here. So they're essentially playing 2 different timbres simultaneously. Let's go into the noise and hear Sea Cats. add some modulation to the cutoff. Actually, I can see it already is here. Let's change this to a, I don't know, something like that. And then tune, let's add something like this. And once again, we'll choose something interesting like that one. Bit of shimmer. Feedback up on the phaser. Turn the rate down. It's very, very easy to get distracted on this and forget that you're actually recording a video. Let's load up the initial patch and then we can remove those. Or if we want, we can click this little dice here and it will randomize the sounds. So now we have these 4 sounds that it's created for us. But let's remove those because we're going to create our own. Now I want a vocally kind of sound. We discovered earlier that they were in this region here. We also learnt that straighten needs to be down, detail put up, and noise can stay down. That one's very nice, but it's a bit too much vibrato in it. I like that one. Go up to here, drag our little dot across. I like that one also. Let's drag that across. And then we'll go for something just a bit random. And that's the beauty of it. I don't know what I want yet. Let's find something that we like. That one there. Let's turn all these down. Cutoff up, resonance down, dirt down. We have some modulation on the position. Let's get rid of that. So now we're just playing this sound on the far left because our position is here. If we move this to the middle, we're now playing the one in the middle. We'll turn down spread so we're not playing more than one. And then all the way to the right, we get that very, very different one. Let's just do one more. Let's drag this one a bit over to the right. And then we're going to add another one of those in. Put that to the left. But on this one, let's turn it down an octave. So now we have this one down an octave and this one at 0. So same sound, just down an octave. Now we can turn up the spread. Now I like that shimmer at the top, but I think it's just a little bit too much. Let's turn it down just a touch. Add a bit of dirt. Bit of resonance. And then we'll see what we can do with FM. Next we'll go to the effects. Turn the reverb up. Size up. Let's go for the dark variant. Width up. And then shimmer up also. Here let's just experiment. The halo I'm going to turn down because this is the brightness of the shimmer. I'm going for kind of dark effects. Let's turn this down. I don't want too much phaser, just a hint. I think we also need some movement on this oscillator position also. So let's go over to here to our LFO. Let's turn this up. Let's sync this. Smooth it a bit. I think also on the FM as well. So let's select that one just on the ratio. Let's choose something like this one. Turn the rate down, leave it unsynced. I'm not entirely convinced by this last sound. It was an outlier from the start just because it was so different, but let's see what we can do with it. Add some noise. And then we'll also turn it down in pitch. Let's go -12. There we go, I really like that. Got that kind of haunting vibe, but also that up top crackle also. And if I tried something like this in Vital, I don't think I'd ever get there, and if I did, it would take me 6 years. And I'd have much less fun doing it. And then final thing, let's just add a bit of modulation on the panning. Very slow. So there we go, Abyss from Dawesome. And I gotta say, name checks out. It is awesome. I believe also that Abyss 2 is coming out soon, which I cannot wait for. So if you need some Atmos for your projects, I don't think really it's going to get better than this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.